On this episode of AV Week, fighting more counterfeit AV products, taking a look at whether or not Zoom still has a place, and AV as a service in the era of Peloton. All that and more next on AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AV Week, episode 547, recorded Friday, February 11th, 2022. I believe.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Crestron.
This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audiovisual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. As Magic Mitchell just mentioned to the guest here, it technically is my day off, but I like this job too much. It's one of those things that I do that I'll still do for free. So with us to discuss the news and information we have gathered this week, let's start with ladies first. Closest to me is the fantastic Erica Williams, who's over in Kansas City. Welcome, ma'am. Hi, thank you for having me. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I'm very sorry that I won't be rooting for Erica's team come this Sunday. Well, by the time you listen to this, it'll be gone and over, and the Rams will have lost a humiliating defeat to the Bengals because I cannot root for the Los Angeles Rams. Rachel Harris is also with us. She is from New York. Welcome, ma'am, or lives in New York now. Welcome, ma'am.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and if I might add, that all of the views expressed are my own.
Are indeed. They are indeed. Same goes for Erica as well. Rachel works for, well, they both work for pretty good-sized companies, so we'll just live with that. And last but not least, a gentleman who was tired of working with me in our day job at CTI. His name is Toby Tungle, and he has a brand spanking new business card that says Epiphan Video. Welcome, sir.
Nice to see you again, Tim. I'm not going far. I may not get to work with you every day, but I'm still a phone call away if you ever need to chat.
See, he's just like that. And he's not leaving Grand Rapids, so there's that, too.
True.
But no, Toby is now in charge of all of North America for Epiphan Video. So welcome, sir. And congratulations, seriously. There's a lot of people moving around here in the last couple weeks.
Yeah, thanks. There is a lot of people moving around, a lot of people that are changing different career tactics. You know, like myself, I went from the integration world to manufacturing, and people are going from manufacturing integrators, and it's really interesting to see how people are becoming more innovative in their career paths and not just assuming that, you know, that where their current path is where they need to go, and being unique and creative and getting outside of their comfort zone, which is the most important thing, as if anybody knows that follow me on Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't follow me or Toby on Twitter if you don't want to be encouraged, especially if your name is Matt Scott. All right, first story comes to us. It's a weird inside joke, kids. Comes to us actually from the Wall Street Journal. The Peloton CEO, John Foley, is stepping down, and the firm is cutting 2,800 jobs. What on earth does this have to do with AV? I can make a couple different arguments here. First of all, if you've ever seen a Peloton bike, it's half AV. To be frank about it, it's a network device, connected bicycle with a ginormous screen on it. So there's the AV part. Here's the other part, though. This is where this gets me. It is the as-a-service model. And this is where it got Peloton a little bit sideways as well. Erica, we're going to start with you. You and Rachel both work for customers, clients of integrators, right? Toby's the manufacturer now, but you guys are both, you know, you live and breathe and have talked with folks about the as-a-service model here. This is something that I don't know if it was the CEO, right, who just didn't get that model, understood that model. Yes, Peloton made hardware, right, and the bicycles are not inexpensive, but really where they were making their revenue from was this as-a-service and this monthly subscription type. So when you look at either the failure here, at least a temporary failure. Obviously, Peloton hasn't filed for bankruptcy yet, so we can't say complete failure here. But a little hiccup in their business plan, does it give you pause when it comes to hardware or AV as a service? Does it make you more, excited about it? Where does this kind of put, compare and contrast the Peloton model of as a service with what some integrators and quite frankly what some manufacturers are positing as AV as a service?
A couple things come to mind. Just initially to start out with the IT background that I have, just thinking about equipment life cycles to begin with. You think that the as a service offering is it's kind of awesome if you think about it. Every so many years, you have this subscription, they'll take care of you, you can upgrade this, that, or the other. There's convenience with it, absolutely, but the prices that are usually associated with that are pretty high. And it's one of the things that I've always wondered specifically about Peloton is that price point that you mentioned, the price of the bike. Is this as a service what's causing the cost of that to go up, or do they just use like really freaking awesome materials, which I mean they do, but it just makes you wonder, with that, when it comes to AV as a service. I've personally been kind of hesitant to suggest that and go with that because it seems like it's always changing. And using Zoom specifically as an example, because we're a Zoom shop. When they started offering that, they really hit it hard, and they're like, look at this awesome thing that we're offering, and you don't hear about it anymore, hardly ever. So it's like, okay, well, what happened there? And it just makes you wonder, also too, if it's the manufacturer that's offering that AV as a service, or if you look at other companies like Starin did an kind of an as a service offering too, like their little box package bundles. Like are the manufacturers going to be able to be successful doing this, or are they going to need some kind of integrator or representative to get that to really kick off?
Rachel, same kind of question. Rachel obviously also works in a big Fortune 500 company. When you look at, as Erica said, the kind of the IT model here, is this something that makes sense, the as a service when it comes to AV, or is it we're still kind of putting the parts and pieces together and it's not quite ready for prime time yet?
Okay, I believe in AV as a service. I think that clients like it, and I think that it gives the individual more power to research, find what they want, and take care of it by themselves. And I think people are drawn to that. I think that the time when Peloton had their success that we just lived through was an example of that, from layman to the regular exercise person, figuring out a best way to get everything that they wanted from a company. So I think that AV as a service has a future, and we should keep doing what we do to just keep getting closer to the clients. Now, what's concerning is if there is this kind of dip happening right now, and whether Peloton will make it or not, I have no idea. But honestly, what this makes me think about is just the culture change in terms of, I do streaming, that's what I think about, and the culture change in terms of the engagement that people are willing to accept as the world reopens, right? People are they going to go somewhere else to get that engagement with exercise that they were happy to get for the past 2 years from that bike with the live instructor on it? You know what I mean? Are they going to be able to compete with that? And that makes me wonder, what is streaming really going to look like as we open the world back up? Because everybody wants to keep it, but the audience has to be there, and the audience has to show up and want to keep it and be engaged. And so I think this is going to be really interesting to watch over the next couple of months, because Peloton is going to have to do something to keep their engagement going.
Yeah, absolutely. Toby, you'll have a final word on this. Take a look at it from an integrator, manufacturer, or however you want to take a look at it. But talk for a second about the future of AV as a service.
AV as a service is something that I think a lot of manufacturers and dealers are still trying to get their head wrapped around. There's quite a few that have some decent programs out there. They're really transitioning from that CapEx to OpEx purchase model, right? But if we look at Peloton specifically, they didn't really subsidize the entire experience. You had to go buy a really expensive bike, and then you had to have a monthly service, right? And if you look at what AV as a service should be, or really any software as a service model out there, a lot of those things get bundled together as that monthly fee, right? And as we continue to look at as a service in general, which Peloton did a decent job at. I'm not a Peloton user personally, but they had the reward piece where you had the scoreboard on the side and you could actually see where you were on the rankings. But what was the reward to actually bring you back every time? Was it something that I could get, the same level of service, the same experience, the same invigorating kind of workout that you want to have? As Tim, as you know, I'm a big cyclist. I have a cycling program that I use that's online that's $10 a month. And it gives me everything that Peloton would do, but it's on my own bike and I can watch Netflix or Peacock or whatever I want to watch for the day. I don't necessarily need somebody yelling at me on the screen either. Where I think it can be really applied for the AV service model is just more functionality, more seats, more features, and more of that scaling piece that people are looking for versus I've bundled this particular product and service together. This is what it is, and not reinventing that wheel and continuing to bring new products and new services as the service model to the market.
Thanks so much for watching this first segment of AV Week. To check out the rest of the episode for free, click on the link below or go by the website, avnation.tv. It's avnation.tv.